Welcome to Her Health First Wellness Collective, where Black women come first. We're here to educate, advocate, and empower you to take charge of your health. Because your well-being is not optional, it's essential. On today's episode, we're talking about breaking the news, a conversation about sharing a breast cancer diagnosis. Hey, y'all. So welcome back to Her Health First Wellness Collective. I'm Tracy, and then we're here with Tavisha. So we're here now for chemo round 5. So today, a little bit of changes. So she's starting a new medication today, and then today is the first of the weekly visits. To do bi-weekly visits. Now we're starting to do weekly visits. So this is weekly visit number 1. So the countdown is on. So how you feeling today, Tavisha? You look good. You look good. So another thing, she did get some of her pre-meds. Well, she got a new pre-med. She got Benadryl. So she may get a little drowsy, but so we're gonna hang in there. We're gonna try to do as much as we can. So first, before we get into what this episode is really gonna be about, we're gonna just give you guys some updates. So today we went through the normal, she got her port access, got labs drawn, and then we saw the doctor, which she had some questions for the doctor, but I'll let her talk about the questions and the answers, the ones she liked and the ones she did not like. So the first question you asked was, what was the first one? About radiation. Radiation. Oh, yeah. So you had a question about how often radiation is, and what was what was the answer? Monday through Friday for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, yeah. 6 weeks. But the good news about it was that the treatments won't last that long. We'll actually spend longer driving to the place than we would be there. So, a little plus, a little minus. And then also because she was getting a new medication today, she did ask about that, which today we saw a physician's assistant and we saw Dr. Riss today. Dr. Riss came in to say, hey, I guess since, it's a little bit of an expected change in the treatment plan because we did know that after the first 4 rounds, then she'd be coming to this one. So, all right. So today you said there's nausea, and I know you and breakfast did not get along today. Yeah, her and breakfast did not get along today. So, but she's eating some grapes. No, she ate the grapes, okay? Yeah, she ate the grapes. So she was able to tolerate the grapes. And she's got her sparkling water, so she's okay. So the topic today is going to be breaking the news. We're going to talk about, how she found out, when she found out, and then from there, what happened. First question, how did you find out that you had breast cancer? I found out from my chart as the results were in my chart. Okay. So what were your first thoughts after you saw it in my chart? Didn't expect to see the results. I just thought because I had the typical symptom. So I figured I just knew something was wrong with my breast and I didn't know that it was on my breast cancer. Right, right. And I know that's whew, I don't want to think about it myself. So once you read in my chart, you saw what it was. Before you told anyone, did you take some time to process it on your own? No, not really. No, I didn't. Okay, so you found out from my chart, and it was, of course, a jarring discovery or a jarring revelation, because who wants to hear that? But so who was the first person you told, and how did that conversation go? Well, the first person that I told outside the house was my mom. She didn't take it too well. My dad. Yeah. At the same time. Yeah. Nieces and nephews. I told them, and I told a couple of, friends. Not too many people. Right. So how did those conversations go? They were just like my shock and disbelief. Didn't really have much to say. Right. They couldn't believe it either. So it's kind of like some cried, some people cried. Others, took it like me, didn't cry. Yeah. Okay. So how did you decide who to tell first? I didn't really think about it. I just called my mom and my dad and let them know they were the first people outside of, my sister that knew. I told them about it. They were just, you know, sad. Nobody wants to hear that their child has cancer. And it's a scary thing. Hearing that a loved one has cancer is a scary thing, and I bet I can't even imagine how you felt. But I know for us, knowing the person you are and knowing the type of resolve you have, and this happening to you is like, are you serious? So definitely a moment of disbelief. Definitely. Was there anyone that you were nervous or hesitant to tell? Why you feel like you were nervous to tell mom?
I know how moms are. They're worried.
Mm-hmm.
Any parent, you're gonna be worried and
Right.
concerned.
Yeah.
They feel like hopeless, like they can't help you.
Right.
There's nothing that they can do other than like support me, give me like words of encouragement,
Right.
things of that nature.
Yeah. Absolutely. How did well, we already talked about how everybody reacted, and everybody reacted a little bit different. But were everybody's reactions what you expected? Like, did mom react how you thought she would? Dad, me, Celian, the kids?
I think some people took me by surprise, like my mom crying. That shocked me definitely. My dad, he's a man of few words.
Yeah.
So it was just like, he would say himself. Um, my oldest niece, she cried. I didn't think she was going to take it, that hard, but she cried.
Yeah.
That was shocking. My other niece, she didn't cry. My daughter, she didn't cry. She just gets a little sad because and I'm going through things, and you can see the changes in my hair, with my hair.
Right.
She can definitely see the changes that she understands.
Right. Well, and I think that that's important too, having conversations with the children, because I know you and I had a conversation about just being honest and upfront with children. Because once you're honest and upfront with them, when they go to tell your business, because you know they're going to tell your business, you want to make sure that they're giving accurate details. So that's always our standpoint when it comes to discussing things with our girls who are 5 and 6, because they're gonna tell. So we would rather them use the correct terminology, have the correct information, than for them to have to make things up and kind of fill in the blanks. And of course, we didn't like go into technical terms or anything like that, but we just kind of gave an overview of, we said she's sick, and we described, well, it's not the sickness that you would think, that you could see. It's sickness inside. And we talked about the medicine and how, why she has to come here and why she has to stay so long and stuff like that. But, just like little kids, I think they asked like 3 questions, and then they were on to the next thing. So until the next time, then they come back with a couple questions, on to the next thing. Yeah, so the kids, we definitely made sure that we had a conversation with them. So we talked about how you broke the news. Well, how did you break the news to your close friends?
Some of them like texting, majority of them like text.
Right.
I call anybody over the phone to tell them.
Yeah.
It's different hearing it.
Right.
So for me, it was just easier with texting.
Right.
Than to call and say, like, really, my dream's going good, but
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. So do you feel like maybe you texted because with cancer, you never know how people are going to react to the news. So, do you feel like maybe you texted because you didn't want to talk to them? Because sometimes when you talk to people and they start to get emotional, it makes you an emotion. So, did that have anything to do with your decision, how you told people?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, because I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to hear
Right. Right.
It's just it's breast cancer. Yes, it can be fatal, but
Yeah.
I just believe in my heart that I am already cured from it. I'm just going through the process of getting it out of my body, my mind.
Yeah. Amen. So, do you feel like there was a kind of obligation on your part to quote unquote protect other people from your emotions when you were telling them about your diagnosis?
Definitely, because I just didn't want anybody to be honest, anyone.
Yeah.
Seeing someone cry,
Right.
it makes you want to cry. And I didn't want to get emotional.
Yeah.
Remain positive and
Right.
strong. And it definitely, having breast cancer is definitely alter your life.
Hmm.
But it's nothing that is not, doable.
Right. So looking back, do you think you handled those conversations the way you wanted to? And is there anything that you would have done differently?
I think I handled the conversations the way I wanted to.
Okay.
And it wouldn't have been nothing I would have done differently. I still would have, text them. I just think it was just easier to do.
Right. Right. No, I get it. I get it. So I have a little story, but I'm gonna tell it on this next part. So this part we're gonna talk about coping with the reactions and the support of the friends, family that you told. So how did the reactions of the people, well, others in period, and others in total, how did their reactions affect you emotionally, or did they affect you emotionally?
Okay. Some of the reactions did affect me emotionally, but it's just that I didn't, cry. But it definitely, I was just like, man, I have, breast cancer. I got to go through this journey.
Yeah.
But I didn't cry. Not sure why. I just did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that you didn't cry. Knowing you and the type of person you are, I'm not surprised that you didn't cry. You generally, when it comes to emotions and dealing with things, you generally react the opposite of how most people react. So I'm not surprised that you didn't cry. I'm not surprised at all that you didn't cry. So did any of the responses that you received, did they surprise you, good or bad? Because I know we talked about mom crying. That was definitely a surprise. But is there anybody else's reactions that surprised you?
Pretty much, she texts me a lot to make sure that I'm doing good.
Yeah.
She send me inspirational music. She checks in on me. So and as far as my friends, they were sad too. But
Right.
I don't think anybody cried.
Okay.
But they definitely go like, "Oh man, I can't believe
Right.
you're going through this."
Right.
I'm here for you to support you. So I do have a very strong support system.
Yes, ma'am. We are the support squad. Okay.
Yes.
So for the people who didn't react the way you expected or wanted them to, how did that feel? Because I know you said, so you said mom, your niece Shantae. Those were really the only two. So being that you didn't expect them to react the way they did, how did that make you feel?
I felt sad, definitely. So I'm like, oh man, I'm like crying.
Yeah.
And, right.
Right.
I feel like my team is strong enough. I have faith, so I
Mhm.
know I'm going to get through this. No doubt in my mind.
Okay. Okay. So this one, talking about your team. So do you feel that you had a strong support system from the beginning, or do you feel like you had to build one?
I felt like I had one from the beginning.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
From my sisters, my mom, friends, my aunts, nieces, nieces.
Yeah.
Everybody's there. Check on me, make sure I'm okay.
Right.
Text me, I'm not feeling too well, and make sure they try to figure out how they can, help me feel better.
Right.
And things, and then my team, support team, anything that I need or anything that I want. It's definitely, they get it for me. Mm-hmm. They make everything go so smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely grateful, very grateful. Yes.
Yeah.
Honored to have such great support.
Yeah. They're awesome here. They definitely are. And I know we keep saying it, but they are. They're definitely awesome. So, what kind of support was the most meaningful to you after sharing the news? Because I know, like you said, people send you inspirational quotes, they send you music, they send you well wishes. People have sent you, gifts and things to help with relief of the symptoms. So, what kind of support do you feel was the most meaningful to you?
I think when I received the packages, where they sent me the Stanley Cup, they got me my favorite color. I'm on black today, but it's really purple is my favorite. I got that. I got some candles. I got something. You smell it. It's called chemo. It's like something you put in your nose to help you when you're feeling nauseous.
Mhm.
I use that a lot. I got the wristbands to help relieve the nauseousness.
You got
I got
socks.
socks and a blanket. It's in my bed all the time. My cards and everything.
So yeah, so everybody really came through, and people definitely gave gifts that they felt she could use, and all of them have been useful. But let me tell y'all, okay, it's cold in here. Today is not so bad. Today is definitely not so bad. But like before, it's been so cold. So the blanket, the socks, the beanie, all of them come in handy. The Stanley Cup for the water or liquid intake. So all that stuff really definitely came in handy. And I think the best thing was that they were surprises. Nobody told you they were sending them. They were surprises. So, just little bright spots in your day. So I did love to see you when you got the package. You was like, almost sent me something. And to be so excited. So I love that. I loved it, loved it. So how did breaking the news impact your own emotions and your mindset about your diagnosis, if any? Because you've been pretty even keeled the entire time. So
Breaking the news is just it was something that I had to do. Didn't want, at first I didn't really want to do it like that.
yeah,
I didn't really want to tell my mom and dad. And I was like, I'm not gonna leave them home.
right, right.
I told them I was hesitant. Definitely. As far as anybody else, I don't think I was hesitant besides telling my parents.
Right. Yeah, it's always big because now that you're a parent, you put yourself in their shoes, and if it were your daughter, how would you feel? So definitely, you don't ever want to make somebody feel that way, but it is what it is. If we had a choice, okay, we wouldn't even be here.
Say that.
And I will tell y'all one thing about this whole journey. The one time that I saw her cry, which was the principal reason why I don't give her hugs or anything like that, because I already know. So y'all ever be like, you're going through something, and then you're like, you barely holding it together, like barely holding it together. The string is so thin, and then somebody comes up to you and gives you a hug, and that hug, it just ends you. It ends you. My niece was in preschool, and so she told, the staff and stuff like that. Of course, because we knew her daughter was going to go and tell them anyway. So, so she told them, and then one of the teachers, and they are so sweet. They're at AJ's Angels. One of the teachers gave her a hug, and when I saw that lady going for a hug, because I was sitting in the car, I saw the lady going for a hug. I was like, up, here we go, here we go, and they both were crying. But the people at that daycare have been also so supportive and so understanding and so loving, when it comes to her. So that was the only time that I really saw her show a whole lot of emotion. Sometimes I look and I see her and she's just sitting and kind of, just looking around, and, and I know it's a lot. The entire thing is a lot. Having a child and getting news like this, it's I don't know what word to use. It can be jarring, so I see her, she has her ups and downs, and she goes through her periods where she's just, but she's dealing with it, and I check on her, and I'll be like, hey, B, she good? And she'll be like, yep, I'm good. And if she's not good, then she'll tell me she's not good, whether it's that she's tired, the nausea has her today. Like this morning, she tried to eat oatmeal for breakfast, and it wasn't happening. So today is one of those days where the nausea is higher than the rest of the days. She did eat some grapes though. Okay, I see you see the look. Oh, I don't know if they can see it. They might not be able to see it. So it was grapes and cheese, and as you can see, it's just cheese left. Okay, so the grapes, I think, agreed with her. Happy for that. All right, so a couple more questions. So, what advice would you give to someone who has just been diagnosed and struggling with how to tell their loved ones?
The only thing I could probably say is just, don't let them know, tell them. Let them know that you're going to be okay, that you're right.
Yeah.
You're going to get through this, that is definitely my best advice. Because who wants to call their loved one and say, by the way,
Yeah.
I just found out I have cancer or any type of cancer or any, type of battle. But nobody wants to do that. So I would just say, sit down and just think about what you're going to say. Or if you don't want to call them, do like I did.
Right. Yeah. So, along those same lines, when you were telling people about your diagnosis, was there anything? Because we talked about surprising reactions. We talked about unexpected reactions. But was there anything funny that happened that you could remember when you were telling somebody?
Funny, I don't think. Not funny,
Mm-hmm.
but I just think like some people's reactions definitely was not the reaction I was looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't think, not funny. Only, the thing is that probably not even me telling about my daughter.
Just blurt it out. Yeah.
So that's what's kind of funny. It's
Yeah.
funny. I could take it and laugh because it's the truth.
Yeah.
They're so innocent. They don't really know. So,
Right. Right. They just tell what they see. And they do help us to keep it light because, even on the days when she's having a bad day, those girls, and we complain about them because they do not follow directions, but they are always good for some comic relief. Always good for some comic relief. So definitely thankful. Definitely thankful for them. Oh, so if you could go back to the moment you had to break the news, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself? Or is there anything you would do differently?
I think for me, no, I don't think there were anything I would do differently. I think I just, did what I felt, how I felt.
Yeah.
Like whatever came to my mind, that's what I did.
Right.
Except for like calling my mom at first, that hesitant part.
Yeah.
But then I still knew you have to call mom and dad. And tell
Yeah.
them, like this is what's going on.
Yeah.
It was definitely no way around it.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just like it was definitely sad to have to break that news for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing that, me on the outside looking in, one thing that you did that I noticed was it depended on who you were telling to how you tell them. Like you knew the people that were in your circle, and you like, okay. So like you said earlier, some of the people you just text them, other people you can call them because you already know who you can call and who you can't call. So I do love that you did that you know your circle well enough, to be able to decide how you're going to tell them what's going on. And I think so, like when we told mom, or when you told mom, the thing for me was, we know mom. Like we know our mom. So we knew, we're like, all right, let's get our ducks in a row. Let's get this paper that this doctor wrote out. And so we can have everything because we already know she's going to ask questions. And, we still had questions too, but we wanted to make sure that we told her everything we knew at the moment as far as what's going on now, what to expect, in 2 weeks, what to expect in a month, what to expect down the road. So that was definitely one thing that I love that you did, got all the ducks in a row to be able to tell mom. So I love that. And again, like I said, knowing the people that are in your circle, and knowing what you need to be able to tell each specific person. We know we need the facts to tell mom, and some people, the facts didn't really matter. Some people, it's like, I don't know if they're going to ask, or they're going to be too shocked to ask, but we already knew, honey. Lolita was, no, you, okay. She'd be like, I'm sad, but I got questions. So yeah, so I think that was something that I love that you did also. So last question, how has your perspective on sharing your journey since we had that very first conversation? I don't know if you remember it. It was way back. I want to say it was before you got your port placed and everything, I think. Because I think it was in between diagnosis and your port placement. Mm-hmm. So how has your perspective changed on sharing your journey since then?
For me, I'm not really a camera person, and I'm mainly pretty private person.
Yeah.
I don't really display, say too much, post too much, do too much. But I just felt like, this was a good idea to share my story, and that if someone was going through a similar situation what I went through, right, where I just had the inflamed breast, just getting bigger and bigger, by the day, couldn't raise my arm up,
Right.
Couldn't lay on my right side, go to the emergency room, stayed there for like 3 days, and then I didn't have the typical discharge.
Right.
I didn't have the
orange peel.
I didn't have the inverted breast. I didn't have none of that. And mine started in my ducts, in the duct. So maybe I don't know if that's the reason why I didn't have the symptoms of the discharge,
Mm.
or it just everyone's different. I didn't have none of the typical symptoms, so
Right.
that's why I felt like I should share it. Because when you hear people have breast cancer, they say, "Oh, I felt a lot."
Mm-hmm.
It did. I felt a lot, but it was like way months later, going back to all the different, the ultrasound, biopsies, going through all of that. I felt the lump moving. It was very, very tiny. Very, very tiny, very, very tiny lump, but it moved. For me, I just knew something was wrong, but didn't think it was going to be breast cancer. Absolutely, that would have been my last thought in my mind.
Well, I definitely do appreciate you sharing your journey, because you definitely are not a camera person. Because if y'all go back to that first video, you only see her stick her head in at the very end. So her allowing me to document this journey, and her participating in documenting this journey, like she said, we just hope that, if it helps one person, then we feel like we were successful, because you hear it all the time. Oh, this person was diagnosed with cancer, this person was diagnosed with cancer. And if you're like we are, you never think it's gonna hit home like this. So I definitely want to say that I appreciate you for allowing me to be a part of this and be a part of telling your story. So definitely appreciate you. So any last words of encouragement or empowerment for anybody out there?
Just definitely keep, praying. Keep your mind positive.
Yeah.
Definitely don't Google it. Definitely don't Google it.
I know you said that before. Yeah, don't Google. Google will stress you out.
Just stop. If you have any questions,
Yeah.
concerns, or anything, the biggest thing is remaining positive.
Yeah.
Take it
Make,
positive.
yep, and keeping an open mind. Keeping an open mind. All right. Well, that is it for us today. You see, she made it. The Benadryl didn't put her out, so she made it. Okay. But that's it for us today. But she made it. She made it. So that's it for us today. So she's actually getting ready. Looks like she might be getting ready to start her chemo now. So we will definitely keep y'all updated throughout the weeks. Follow us on social media. We are Her Health First WC on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube. I think that's it. And TikTok. Yeah. Her Health First WC. So we will see you next week, and hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. And please, if there's someone you know who could benefit from this video, or who is going through what Tamisha is going through, please share. Okay. So thank you for joining us. And Tamisha, thank you again. And toodles. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Her Health First Wellness Collective. I hope today's video gave you the knowledge, inspiration, or support that you needed. If you found this helpful, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and share it with someone who could use it too. And don't forget, subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a new upload. Now let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Your voice matters here. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, her health comes first. See y'all soon.